What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. I posted yesterday's episode before I heard Tua's post-game quotes, and I'm kind of mad I didn't get ahead of it because this has become a media firestorm, and I feel like I'm kind of late to the party because you're going to be seeing this on Tuesday, which is not ideal, but whatever, we're here now. If you saw today's episode or yesterday's episode, I talked about we got to have a conversation about Tua. What is he going to be like for the future? Blah, 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 blah. I also did a video weeks ago about one of my biggest pet peeves with Tua is that he doesn't play the media game right. Tua's very entitled and puts his foot in his mouth a lot during press conferences. So if you question him about something he's done on the field, instead of just taking responsibility, hey, that's on me, I made a mistake, Tua typically gets a little spicy, then gets defensive, and then just kind of is like dismissive. Like he gets defensive and then dismissive. And then nothing kind of gets resolved. But then he'll come to the post conference or press conference and then say something that you don't need to say and that could almost certainly lead to some controversy. For example, with the Tyreek Hill situation. And he said, how you feel about Tyreek? And he was like, yeah, him and me got some stuff to work on, but we're not there yet, but we'll get there. And then for the next 72 hours, people were talking about, oh man, friction in Miami. When is Tyreek going to get traded? When is he going to blow up? Him and Tua got beef. And it was like, yeah, we know that Tyreek's not done like rehabbing with the team. Obviously, he threw the whole team under the bus. But for you to get up there and say, I don't know, we're not there yet. He got some work to do. A lot of guys are mad at him in the locker room. That's honest. And we always say we want honesty from our players, but we only want some honesty. We don't want full honesty because full honesty usually means some lack of accountability. And that's where I think Tua falls the most short, is that Tua's done a lot of things to not help his cause on the field, but he doesn't do enough in the press conference to balance it out. Meaning, if I throw 3 picks in a game, the first person in the press conference I should be talking about is myself. Hey, I didn't do good enough today. I missed some throws. That's on me. Those guys are open. I got to do a better job of doing that. Tua gets up there in front of the press conference and says, hey, we as a team got to be better. There's some things to work on. We'll get better. And what I don't hear is I personally, me, Tua, messed up. I missed some throws. I didn't read it properly. What he said in the Colts game when he threw that pick into the game was, I make that read 10 to 10 times. And again, I said, I don't like that because that's still a lack of accountability. What that's saying is, I made the right read. They made a good play. I don't want to hear that. Even if you made a perfect throw and it bounces off your receiver's face mask into another person's hands, got to get the ball in a better place. Got to put on his numbers. Can't put on his face mask. That's on me. Everybody knows this. Except Tua. Tua, for some reason, it's never fully his fault. He doesn't just go up there and we hate quarterback talk, but it is part of the game. Everything does fall on the quarterback. If you lose the game, that goes on your win-loss record. So you can say, oh, well, it's not my fault, whatever, but it's still kind of on you. And Tua's lack of accountability and really tone deafness is staggering this long into his career. It's staggering. Year 6, Tua is still saying things where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. The idea that if I throw 5 picks, I still get to go home to my family. Hey, Tua, as fans, we don't want to hear that. When you've thrown 3 picks in 2 separate games and they ask you, hey, Tua, you throw picks in bunches. What do you mean? What are you talking about? That's a dumb question. It's like, is it? Because it's happened 2 times already this year. Why is it dumb? Like, this is what it is. Like, there's a lack of awareness about how he's being perceived and how he's coming across even to the people. He's talked about in his post-game conference, we got guys who are not showing up to these player-only meetings, and then we have guys showing up late to them, and it's a lack of leadership. But player-guided offensive meetings are led by you, which means that there's a lack of leadership from you. My understanding, and I read Omar Kelly talked about this on Twitter, he said the coaches aren't involved in this. So when he says there's a lack of leadership, I think people immediately thought he was talking about Coach McDaniel. The coaches aren't involved in this. So the leadership that's not happening is between Tua, the other captains, and the guys on the team. So which captains are doing their job? Jordan? Zach? Bradley? Like who else are we going after? Because those are the leaders. You are the main leader. You are the leader of the offense. So if they're not coming to the players only meeting, if they're showing up late, that's disrespectful to you. That's like a leadership from you. That isn't Coach McDaniel. That's not, Coach Weaver. That's you. So I didn't understand where he was coming from. I think what he was trying to do is be like, we need people to be more accountable, but you can only get that accountability speech off if you first are the person that's more accountable. You can't be having the worst season you've had in 4 years and then go up there and be like, man, those guys got to be better. That's not how this works. Unless you want to be vilified, which, okay, hey, if you want them to tear you apart like they have in the media and you be the top of everybody's conversation, people say you overrated, overpaid, the worst quarterback in your division, if you want to get all that, then fine. I don't think that's what Tua wants. I think Tua wants to be loved. I think maybe because he came under a Saban tree, like Alabama quarterbacks don't talk a lot. And then the first couple of years in Miami with Brian Flores, he didn't talk a lot. And when he did talk, he was always kind of defensive. I think he's trying to learn how to be himself in front of the media. And maybe what he is just not particularly good at the microphone. And not everybody is. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is good at the microphone. I don't think Tua is good at the microphone. I think, Cam has some times at the microphone where he may have said too much or too little. But Russell Wilson's good at the mic, even though he doesn't tell you anything. There's something to it. I think there's a lot to learn here. I was flabbergasted, and I shouldn't have been, because Tua's been this guy for the last couple of years. But his weird thing with the media, his idea of like y'all should just be like behind me and praising me, but he hasn't done enough to garner the respect I think he believes he deserves. He deserves respect being the quarterback and the captain, of course. But like as a player in this league, Tua hasn't done enough that people like fall in line. I think that's what, like, he seemed to have his entitlement. Like, yo, I called a meeting, where was y'all at? And it's like, well, I know you're the quarterback, but like, what if, like, I get the dissension. It's a lot. I've rambled on this topic for a while because this was, I know, flagrant to me. It was flagrant for Tua to say what he said. And I think he's being properly vilified because what are you talking about? Like, that was a lot. In the immediate aftermath of Tua saying what he said, Coach McDaniel came to the press, and they asked him what he felt, and he immediately started defending Tua because that's what coaches do. Oh, that's my quarterback. Everybody's got to do their part. Blah blah blah. But then he heard what Tua said, and he had to come back with a repackaged response because what he said seemed like he was all for what Tua was saying, and then when he heard what Tua said, he said, "I think Tua may have gone a little bit too far." Here's what he said. Now that I've heard them, you guys caught me before I heard them. Regardless of what was on Tua's mind after a loss, as a franchise quarterback, that's not the forum to voice that. He knows that now. I do honestly believe there was no ill intention, but you're talking about a misguided representation of player-guided film sessions. Now, I don't know exactly what Coach McDaniel meant by that. I think, and Tua mentioned in part of his speech, should we have to make these mandatory for people to show up on time for them? My understanding of these is that the team is supposed to come together for these meetings. Like, they collectively agree to come together. Hey, guys, we're not doing something good. Let's meet up in extra time. Talk about film. Talk about what you're seeing. Call out each other. Accountability. We've already done player-only meetings. We did it after week 1. Remember that? After the Colts game, there was immediately a players-only meeting. Evidently, we've had a bunch of them since then, which means that we're meeting every month, every week, and nothing's changing. We're 1-5. So I think when he said like he's misguided, I think what Tua is kind of alluding to is I want people to want it bad enough that I shouldn't have to press y'all to come to these because we're not playing well. But I think it's like, yes, maybe they should be there, and they for sure shouldn't be late. Either show up or don't show up, and if you don't show up, you better have a great reason. If you are going to show up on time. But to say there's a lack of leadership, to me, that's a lack of, not compliance. It's a lack of unity. Maybe that's a better word. I think it's a lack of unity on the team's part because none of us are playing well. Like if your name is not Devon Achane this week, because last week Devon was awful. If you're not Jalen Waddle the last 2 weeks, I don't know what you think you don't need to show up at the film study for. We've all been bad. The line's been terrible. If you're Darren Waller, you maybe don't need to show up. Maybe you should get some more therapy. But it seems like the team's not unified. I think that's what Tua was trying to say. But again, he was clumsy at the box. And Coach McDaniel, who's one of the worst public speakers I've seen in the coaching ranks, just meandering and talking about a bunch of nonsense words. He eventually gets to the topic, but he's not great. For him to come out and be like, yeah, Tua kind of blew that. That tells me a lot. He's like, hey, I'm not good at this, but that was terrible. Because the way Tua did it, it seems like he's putting the light only on his teammates. Coach McDaniel may say a bunch of nothing and talk in circles, but he's trying to like massage the right thing and like put it in context and try to be philosophical. Tua just throws you under the bus, runs you over, and then be like, so you coming to the meeting on Tuesday? It's like, nah, dog, you just ran me over. When you were like, yo, I'm going to be double checking if people looking at their film and all that, it's like, hey, if you look at your film because you keep getting fooled in coverage. It's a lack of accountability, a lot of lack of responsibility, some level of entitlement probably amongst a lot of people, and then lack of respect. I think when people show up late to stuff, that's disrespectful. That's me. Y'all feel how you feel. But when we've talked all off season about respect, and then the season starts and people are still being disrespectful, that's even more disrespectful. That's a double slap in the face. That's, hey, I know we should be at this meeting. I know you called this to try to make us better, but I don't care enough. I don't care enough to be here on time. Sorry. Not from you. Remember you said, I don't care if I throw 5 picks, I go on my wife and kids? Guess what? I got wife and kids too. This meeting doesn't mean anything to me. Could I get better? Probably. Did I miss a block? Yeah, I messed up. But guess what? Look at the time. I got to get home to my wife and kids. Is that lack of leadership or a lack of just like a buy-in? It's a lot. Coach McDaniel had to jump out and try to like protect the squad. But, I mean, this really seems messy. Anytime the quarterback and coach are now on the same page, publicly now on the same page, that's never good. This isn't good. And I expect Tua to issue some version of an apology. But again, Tua's lack of accountability is staggering because I think he will issue a version of, I didn't say it the way I wanted to say it, then doubling down on, I wish guys would be at the meetings, which doesn't sound like an apology at all. I don't think you're going to get a contrite apology because Tua doesn't do that because he genuinely doesn't think he was wrong. It's going to get messy. So, guys are about to start getting offloaded. In case you didn't know that, that's what's about to start happening. And the question is, who's going to be the first one to go? It was always thought to be Tyreek Hill, and I think had Tyreek been healthy up to this point, that's a pretty fair choice. I think there are a number of teams that need receivers. I think he would have been on his way out. Now that Tyreek's out, just because he's injured, who's the first to go? I think it's going to be a defensive end. I think Bradley Chubb makes the most sense. 1, he's under contract. 2, he's been very productive this year. 3, he's a year removed from his surgery, so he's not like as fresh in his surgery. And I think you can probably get the most back for him. Jalen Phillips, I think, will also be gone, and we'll do a story on that probably tomorrow. But Jalen's return, I don't think, will be as much. I think for Bradley Chubb, you can get a 3rd-round pick right now. And if a team's really desperate, maybe a 2nd. A team like Philadelphia, whose pass rush has not been on point. A team like Baltimore, whose pass rush has been god-awful. A team like Buffalo, who doesn't generate pressure from the outside, who doesn't have like a big cap but has like draft capital. I think that's a possibility. Philadelphia is always there. Like, there are a number of teams. The Chargers, actually. The Chargers are an interesting team. Because I read somewhere where the Chargers need a pass rusher and a running back. And there's a possibility of a Bradley Chubb, Jalen Wright double package to the Chargers, which could get you a decent return. But we'll cross that bridge down the line. Just keep it in mind. I think Chubb can go to 4 or 5 teams, and there's already sourcing that there's teams in the league sniffing around Miami, being like, yo, what's up with that Bradley? What's up with that Chubb? Like, they sniffing around, and Miami was like, oh, we're still playing the year out. They're fielding offers. Let me just say that. They're fielding offers. They're going to see. The trade deadline is November 4th. So it's December. It's October 13th. Okay, so we got like 3 good weeks. You're going to see a lot of speculation between now and then. There'll be a lot of teams that maybe today are out on Bradley. And maybe in the next week or two, injuries happen. And all of a sudden, hey, he's a big deal. Or even better, hey, we're a better team than we thought we'd be. We just really don't have a good pass rush. Maybe this is our year to win it, which is how teams work. And then they take the leap. So I think Miami sitting pretty. Cincinnati, I saw Trey Hendrickson got hurt today or yesterday. How long is he out for? If he's out for the year, well, what are we doing? Like that kind of situation where a team is like, oh no, we're good. We don't need a pass rusher. And all of a sudden, yeah, we kind of need a pass rusher. Yeah. I think Miami's going to hold these cards close to the vest. I think Bradley is the biggest piece of people that we should trade and could get some value back for. We're obviously not trading Jalen Waddle or Devon Achane. That would be dumb. But guys that are tradable, that are still good, I think Bradley Chubb's at the very top of the list. And I do, in fact, believe he will be the first to be traded. I just don't have a good read on it yet because, honestly, that's like 7 teams that can say it. And I would be like, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Sorry about that. Finally, we can get to your comments. And I've had a lot of people hit me up on Twitter, X, what have you, about what are we going to do about the rebuild? Is the rebuild coming? How should we go about doing it? This is a very tricky situation because typically when you do a rebuild, you kind of gut everything and then build up. Or sometimes you do a rebuild around the quarterback. We're in a situation where if we start the rebuild next year, there's a 99% chance Tua will still be on the team. So the rebuild wouldn't really activate fully for 2 years. Because if Tua's still your quarterback, and let's say you get, I'll back up. Here's how I'll approach it. Miami's biggest issues are in the trenches. Right? We addressed the draft this year. D-line first, O-line 2. Then D-line again, and then we went from there. I think that approach is not wrong. I just think we scouted it poorly. Because at this point, neither of our first 2-round picks are producing like they should. Jonah's been an abomination. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. He's been the worst left guard in the entire league. It's not even close. I mean, he's been bad every week. Kenneth has shown a little flash. He got half a sack Sunday. I saw a little bit more from him that game. Other than that, he's been awful. Also, Mason Graham hasn't been good this year. Neither here nor there. Maybe we just didn't value Dean Lyman properly this year because a lot of those guys that were supposed to be generational type guys have not panned out at all. Maybe the scouts got it wrong. But I think that approach is the right approach. If you go into next year and you're saying the guys that are absolutely untradeable, that we know we're building around, these are our guys. Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer on the O-line. Cool. Jonah obviously going to be there. Second round pick. 4 years left on his deal. Of course. Receiver Jalen Waddle. Of course. Devon Achane. Of course. Ollie Gordon as his backup. Most likely, I think Jalen Wright will be traded. Cool. Defensively, Zach, of course. Kenneth, yes. And then everybody else on that D-line, who knows? Linebackers, we feel good about. Terrell and Jordan. I don't know if we're going to bring Willie Gay back, but he's been solid when he's played. And Britt's been good, actually, when he plays. That's fine. Minka's coming back. Everybody else in the secondary can be gone. So you have a lot of gaps. Lots of gaps. But you got to get those trenches right. We are still one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and our D-line has not really improved the way we should. I think the first 4 rounds of picks and free agency should be spent in the trenches. Don't get a receiver. Don't get another running back. If Jalen Waddle's our number 1 receiver, and Malik Washington's our number 2 receiver, and NWI is our 3rd receiver, and I don't know if Darren Waller will come back next year. We hope he could. We'll see. If Waller comes back, if that's our receiving core, that's solid enough that you shouldn't have issues moving the ball. Yes, you would like a better like X receiver. It's fine. That's good enough. Devon Achane is awesome. He can get extended next year. We feel good about that. Ollie Gordon, I think if he blocks for him, will be good. If those are our 2, we're good there. I'm talking first-round offensive lineman, second-round offensive lineman, third-round D lineman, fourth-round D lineman. Go out there and find a couple of veterans at both lines, free agency. Fortify that line. We're putting 75% of our resources on the line, and then maybe drafting the receiver late with some upside, DBs, etc. The question really comes down to, once we do that, and Tua's still there, we might have a year next year where we actually have offensive line production, where they're actually blocking. And Tua, if you block for him, will play better. The question is, what's the line of Tua playing well where he's part of the rebuild or not part of it? That's the question. Because Tua has a 2-year ago season next year, right? Leads the league in passing, 4,500 plus yards, almost 30 touchdowns. If he does that again next year, do you think, cool, let's keep going? Or is it, hey, Tua, you're on borrowed time. We're going to draft your replacement this year anyway, and then we move on? That's the real question mark. I'm on the second side of it. I think we've already seen the best of Tua. I think 2 years ago was the best of Tua. I don't think he will play better than that. He could probably match that level. I don't know if he'll play better than that. But I also don't like this draft class at all. I told y'all back in March, this draft class is overrated. None of those quarterbacks are good. They're not that none of them are good. None of them are generational. Drew Aller just got hurt. Nussmeier's been mid. Sellers has been mid. Arch is not coming out. I said that first. Who else you got? But keep going down the line. I think almost all of them are project type quarterbacks. So the idea is that, let's say we get Lenora Sellers, right? South Carolina's quarterback. He's not going to be ready to play next year anyway. So you have Tua still on the last year tutoring kind of deal. Hey, Lenoris, you're going to be our quarterback of the future. That now bucks up against my O-line, D-line strategy, but fine. If they go that way, they go that way. Hey, you're not going to be the backup in waiting. Learn behind Tua. At Tua, you're going to finish this year out, and maybe by the trade deadline, if you want to get traded, maybe we will. Maybe we'll let you play the year out, and then you're out the door. We let the young guy come in, and we hope we hit like a Drake May, Jaden Daniels type player. And then we keep building the team from there. Because last year, the Patriots got Drake May. The team was still awful. They didn't have any talent around them. This offseason, they spent a bunch of money. A bunch of money. O-line, D-line, secondary, receivers. And now, they're leading the division. And they look like a playoff team, which is shocking to me. I thought the Patriots were going to be 6-7 wins. Their schedule is pretty cakey. They can win 10, 11 games this year. And I wouldn't have seen that last year because Drake, to me, was very inconsistent. But they spent the offseason, put a bunch of resources around him, and now they're like a team that should be moving forward in the future. In a weird way, the Patriot model may be where the Dolphins need to go. Get you a young quarterback. They had Jacoby Brissett play the first 4 or 5 weeks, got destroyed. They brought Drake in. He made a lot of mistakes, made a couple good plays. The team didn't win. And they got O-line, running backs, D-line, running back, O-line. It just rebuilt the team. And it seems like they're in a good direction. So I think that's the approach I would take. But we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate your love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.